Hello everyone, my name is Ajay. So in this video I'm going to explain how you can make a WCF service to a RESTful service. Before watching this video I prefer you to watch my two other videos where I was explaining how you can develop a WCF service and by using all the CRUD operations in the service, and I was also explaining how you can consume it in an MVC application by simply adding the service reference and so on. So whatever I was doing in my previous two videos is all about the soap based service. The service is actually by default is a soap based service. So I want to make this service. This is a service that I was developing in my first video. So I want to make this service to a RESTful service. So I'll be explaining about that in this video. The reason for me to make it for a RESTful service is that in a SOAP-based service, actually, when you develop a service and when a client tries to consume that service, it will be sending in the format of XML only. The service will be sending the service to the client in the XML format only in the SOAP base. Whereas in the REST base, if you develop a service in the REST base, then you can the client can consume either in the XML format or also it can consume in the JSON format, which is very much efficient. Way, especially when consuming using the client side languages like jQuery, JavaScript. If it is sending in the format of JSON, then it is very much efficient for the client side languages like JavaScript or jQuery. For consuming the service if it is coming in the form of JSON format. So that's the reason we need to make a service to a RESTful service. So if you see, this service is actually a SOAP based service up to now. So for making this to a RESTful service, the only thing that I need to do is, initially you need to go to the web.config file and you need to add a new endpoint actually. So for adding a new endpoint, go to the system.service model, and that you add a new in the services service, and the name of this would be the service. The name of the service must be the service name. This service.cs name. So I'm selecting that over there. Okay, so it's WCF sample project.service font. So I need to select that over there. Okay, and then after I need to add an endpoint in that. To the endpoint I need to give the address, binding, and the contract, and also the behavior configuration. So first just giving the address as REST for now, and behavior configuration I'm naming it as RESTB. I need to add it again, the behavior configuration in the behavior section. So for now I'm giving the name as RESTB, and I'm giving the binding. For RESTful service, for making a RESTful service, you must always make sure that the binding is web HTTP binding. It supports only web HTTP binding. So I've selected the binding as web HTTP binding, and coming to the contract, this is the interface name. So here you need to give the interface name of your service, where it is a service contract. Okay, that's it. I'm done with the endpoint now. Okay, so if you see, I'm having the behavior configuration of as RESTB, so I need to add this behavior configuration actually. So for that, go to the behaviors, and here go for the endpoint behaviors, and here for the behavior name it as RESTB. This name must match this name, right? So that's the reason I've given as RESTB, and add web HTTP. Yeah, that's it. So this is all that you need to do in the web config file for making it to a REST based service. I've just added a new endpoint, and I just added a binding configuration, behavior configuration. And then after this, go to the iService, go to the interface of your service, and there you need to add an extra attribute. Either it may be web invoke or web get. So for now, first I want to add So here you can see I can add web get or web invoke. The only difference between web get and web invoke is that by using web get you can only call, it is only available for the get methods. But coming to web invoke, in web invoke it is accessible, it is available for both the get and post get and post methods. So I prefer you to use this web invoke, and to this web invoke you need to add a lot of properties like method type. So for now I'm using as get, and in a while I'll be explaining what is actually get and what is actually post. For now you assume I'm keeping it as get, and then after I want to give the response format. The response format is the one, when you try to send the data from the service to the client, then in what format it have to go actually. This says about that. So web message format dot, I want to send in the format of JSON, so I'm using the JSON format, and also actually I'm just sending the data using this, right? So I'm just this is the persons, get persons is something that it is taking the data from the database and it is serving to the client, right? That is when I'm just using the response format for making sure that it is sending the data to the client in the JSON format. And then after I need to use the URI template. So this is actually a URL, it is actually the unique URL that is followed by your service URL. So whatever URI template you give here, you have to match that one for consuming this service. So for now I'm giving the URI template as something get per, yeah, that's it, get per. For now I'm giving it as like that. So this will be my URI template. So if I want to consume this method, I have to use this URI template followed by my service URL. Okay, so that's it. So I'm done with the first method. So now this get persons is RESTful service actually. So let's check whether it's working or not. Okay, I'm running it. So I have to get the data in the form of JSON, right? So let's check whether I'm getting the data in the form of JSON or not. And as it is get method, you can access in the browser. If it is something like a post method, you need to use some external tools like Fiddler or Postman, so which I'll be showing in a while. So this one. So if you want to access this method, you have to use this address followed by this URI template. So at present this is my service URL, so REST, which is my address in the endpoint, and the URI template of the method that I want to consume is get per. So that's the reason I'm using that. Okay, so here if you see, I got the data in the form of JSON. So this all are the JSON. This is the data that is in the form of JSON. So if you see, this is my table, and I got the data in the form of JSON, like a JSON object. So here if you see, each row is like a JSON object. So that's the main difference. So if you try to consume this in the client side, like using some jQuery or some JavaScript language, by using Ajax controls, you can easily consume it. As it is already in JSON, you can easily consume it. So it is an efficient way actually for consuming in the client side, by using jQuery or JavaScript languages. Okay, that's about the first method. So now I want to make the insert person also a RESTful service. So for inserting a person, before insert person, I want to show for the get person actually. So for the get person also, I'm using the web invoke. For now I'm using the method as get, to just show you the difference, I mean what's the actually the difference between get and post. For now I'm using get for the delete method, I mean get method for this delete function, for this delete person function. And the next thing is response format must be in the JSON format. Actually it will be not responding me anything, so I need to have only request. I mean I'll be getting the request from the browser for deleting the person, right? So for that reason I need to only have the request format. So web message format dot JSON I'm expecting in the form of JSON if it is coming through the body of the request, and the URI template. So the URI template, I mean, so if you see, I'm expecting a parameter ID to this method, right? So the URI template must be in a way like, first you must give any unique name to the method, person slash and the parameter. That's it. So this will be the name of the method actually, I mean the unique name for identifying this method, and this will be the value, and this will assume like a value that I'm passing to this input parameter. So let's run this and check whether it's working or not. So for now I want to delete the first row which is having ID 3. So let's check whether it's working or not. So as it is a get method, whatever data I want to send, to the server, to the service from the browser, I can send it from the URL directly by using like slash and the value. So let me show you that. So here there is a problem actually. Operation delete person the contract as a path variable named ID which does not have type string. Variables for UI template path segment must have strings. So if you see, I'm having int, it is accepting int, but in the URI template it accepts only strings, a string type of I mean from this value it actually comes in the form of string, so it accepts, it must be only string type here. So that's the error actually there. So for that I want to change this to string, and I also want to override that the function over here string, and I want to convert that, I mean I want to declare a variable in the integer, and I want to convert the string ID to integer format. For that reason, that's it, no issues in this. Okay, so I got the value in k now, so which is in the integer format. Just I'm getting the value in the string format, and I'm converting it in the integer format and storing in the variable k, and I'm passing this value over here. That's it. So everything seems to be same. That's it. I'm just accepting the value in the form of string and converting it into the integer, and I'm using as my requirement. Okay, so let's check it now. So it's in the string format, so no issues. Let's run and check it. So go to service1.svc. So rest delete so this is my URI template, right? So I need to paste this over here, and the ID must be the value. So for now I want to delete the first row, so the ID is 3, so pass the value as 3 over there. Let's check whether it's working or not. Yeah, actually, so it's done actually. So let me go to the database and check. So if you see, I'm not having the first row, so it is deleted, so it is working successfully, so no issues on that. So this is actually, I mean, as it is get method, I'm passing the data, I mean I'm passing the data through the URL. If it is post method, you need to pass the data in the request body. So for passing the data in the request body, you cannot do it by using any browser or anything like that. You need to have some external tools. So for passing the data in the request body, you need to have external tools like Fiddler or Postman or anything like that. So for now, let me make this. I'm making this get method to post method. So for that, I have to pass the value in the request body, so there is no need for mentioning in the URI template the ID value like that. So if I try to run this post method now, I cannot I mean I'm unable to access that. I will be unable to access that method as it is in post, as that method is of type post method. So see, method not allowed. The reason is because it is post method. So if you want to access any post methods of the service, you need to use some external tools like Fiddler or anything. So for now, I'm having Fiddler in my system, so I'll be using that Fiddler for showing how it works actually. So if you see, the method is post and the request format is JSON, so I have to send the data in the form of JSON. And okay, I have to send the data in the form of JSON, so it is expecting ID, so I have to send the ID in the form of JSON. So it is possible from the Fiddler. So in the Fiddler, when you start a Fiddler, initially use filters actually. This filters is something like, so for now my service URL is localhost 58515. So if I want to track only this localhost, this address actually, so I have to use that in the filters. So if I use that address in the filter, it will track only that URL related URL stuff like that, and select this option as show only internet host, show only following host like that. Okay, and I'm enabling the filters, and then after I'm clearing everything. And okay, now let's check whether our service is working or not. So if you see, this is my post URL, post service method URL, delete per. So I'm copying that and I'm pasting it over here. So as you know, the method type is post. I'm selecting post, and as you know, here it is expecting a parameter ID. So I want to send that from the I want to send the data to the service. So as I need to, I need to send that, if it is post method, I need to send in request body, right? So that's the reason I'm using Fiddler. So here I can send the data that I want to send it to the service in this request body actually. So I need to pass the ID value. So I'm passing it in this way. So for now I want to delete the first row which is having ID of 4. So okay, so if you see, this is actually a simple JSON object. So anytime for making a JSON object, this is the format that you need to use. Okay, I'm done with the JSON object. So this will be the data that will be posted to my service. So let me keep a breakpoint. Okay, so it must post to the service now. And before that, in the headers, you have to use another thing called content type is application slash JSON. So this is actually, it says, it says to the server, it says to the service, it sends in the request of the headers that the content type that this Fiddler is sending is of JSON type. So this is about that. Okay, I'm done with adding the data in the request body also. Let me execute and check whether there is some error actually. So let me check what's that. So there is some error actually. So If I click on execute, it's not actually, it's not sending the request. I mean, it's not hitting the browser also, it's not hitting the service method also. So the reason is that, so in a method, if it is expecting anything like string id or anything like something which is in the form of separate, I mean like string or integer or like anything other than like a person object or a employee object or anything other than a complex type object. So if it is anything other than a complex type object, then there you need to use another property called body style. So body style must be web message body style dot wrapped. So remember, if it is anything other than a complex type, if this is an input parameter, anything other than a complex type, then you need to use this property known as body style, which is message body style dot wrapped. Okay, let me check right now whether it's working or not. Okay, let me run the service. And for delete person, so the method is not allowed as it is post method. I have to send the data in the request body. So for that I can use the fiddler. I'm pasting the URL, so it is in the post method, and I'm sending the data actually. So in the database, if you see, I want to delete the first row which is having id 1, so I'm passing that value in the form of JSON object. So this is a simple JSON object, so it accepts only the JSON object. So why? Because in the request body, if you see, the request format is a type of JSON object, so it will accept only JSON, the data in the form of JSON object. So I'm done with this. So let me execute and check whether, yeah, if you see, it is hitting the breakpoint. If you see the ID, I got the expected, I mean 4. I was sending the value 4, right? I got that value to the method. So let me run and check. I got an exception actually. Sequence contains no element. So it says that there is no element with ID 4 in my database. Actually, the thing is that before, I mean, before there was another row with ID 4 with name Ajay and everything. But in between, I was testing. At that time, I deleted that row. So right now, if you see in my table, I'm having only one value with ID 5 and the name is John. So I want to delete this one, so the ID is 5, so I need to pass this one for deleting this. Okay, for that, so I got an exception. Why? Because I was passing 4, I mean the row is not available in the table, so it was not able to select that row for deleting it. So that's the reason this exception was occurred. So let me pass 5 now. Okay, let me execute. So if you see, I got the 5 as a value. Okay, yeah, I got a success result. I mean 200 says that it says actually the success status code, and 400 is like some error status code like that. If it is 200, it is like a success status code. So let me go and check in my database. So if you see, I've done rows, I mean the row that I was having was deleted. So it is working fine, no issues on that. Okay, so everything is fine. I mean, if you see right now, the get person, delete person, and the get person method is of REST based, so I can access them using the fiddler. I mean, I can get the data in the JSON format, and also I can request the data in the JSON format, as it is RESTful service using these URI templates. Okay, now I want to make this insert person and update person also to a RESTful service. So before that, I want to insert some data into uh, this table. So as it read only, I mean, as I was using code first approach in my first video, so I need to insert it only from the service. So for that, I want to open my MVC application for inserting some data. That's it, so that it can be very clear for you, right, for me to explain. So just I want to insert some data, so I want to run this one. Okay, I'm inserting the data. It is hitting some breakpoints, no issues on that. Ajay, and the address is USA. Okay, inserting it. So there is an exception actually, as because it is. I mean, I was adding a new endpoint, right? So it is an exception. It must also accept. So it is overriding. So for that, uh, so if you see, I got an exception actually right now. So this exception says like service one in the service model client configuration. So default endpoint element that reference contract. So the reason for this exception is as I'm using the MVC sample, I mean just for inserting the person, I'm using this MVC sample project where it was where initially I was showing where how you can consume a SOAP based service. So right now I've added a new endpoint to the service, right? So that service is having a new endpoint where it is REST based endpoint. So it is overriding that one. I mean, so the thing. So for this exception, for coming out of this exception, so what you can do is that. So right now my service, as I made it to a REST based service, as I added a new endpoint uh, called REST. So it is overriding actually. It is not making the SOAP service to be accepted by the client side. So for making the SOAP service also acceptable, I want to add another endpoint address SOAP. The binding which will be accepted for this SOAP is max HTTP binding. The contract is my interface. Okay. So I added just this. I mean, the reason for me to add this endpoint is that just making my service which can be either a SOAP based service and also it can be a REST based service. So as I wanted to insert the persons using my MVC application, so where this MVC application is consuming the service in the SOAP based format, so I need to also have that endpoint in the service, right? So that's the reason I got the exception. So for now, if you see in the service, I added a new endpoint which also accepts the SOAP based service. I mean, this makes the service also a SOAP based service. So right now, if you go to my MVC, I want to update the service for now as I added a new endpoint. Okay, so it is a kind of exception. I mean, if you come across all these exceptions, then only we can learn what actually it is, right? So it is better to get these exceptions in between. Okay, I update this service. Now let's run and check whether it's accepting or not. So I want to insert some persons into this, right? So that's the reason I was using the MVC application for inserting some persons actually, where I was showing in my previous videos, where I was consuming the WCF SOAP service in my previous videos using MVC application. So right now I just want to have some persons in this table, so I'm using this MVC application for inserting them. That's it. No, not more than that. Okay, and the address is USA. Okay. So let me check it. Yeah, no, I have no exceptions, right? So I got the data into the database, so no issues on that. I want to insert another name like Pramod. Say, okay, I want to insert this one also. Okay, and I also want to insert another name. Yeah, so also want to add another address. Okay, John. So let me check. So I got the required data. That's it. Just for inserting this detail, I was using this MVC application. So where I can insert the data to my database. So I'm done with some rows. I mean, I'm done adding with some rows. So everything seems to be good. So, oh, sorry. Okay. So if you see, I made the get persons and the delete persons to the RESTful service. I mean, by using this, by adding this web invoke method, I made these two methods as a RESTful service. So I also want to make the insert person and the update person to a RESTful service. So for making that, I need to use again web invoke, and the method is post. I want to post it in the Fiddler request body. I mean, in the request body of the URL. So in the request body of the URL, so I'm using the method as post, so which I can do it with Fiddler. So no issues on that. And the request format must be in the form of JSON. Okay, and so the URI template, naming it as insert per. Okay, so okay, I'm done with this. I mean, I'm done with, and if you see, it's actually a person object. I mean, it's actually a complex object which it is expecting as an input parameter. So I don't need to use, there is no need for me to use this body style, as I was saying before. I mean, you need to use this property only if it is other than a complex type object, where it is expecting an input parameter other than a complex type. So if you see, it is a complex type parameter, it is a complex type parameter that it is expecting. So no need for you to use body style here again. Okay, so everything is good up to here. So let me run and check. So for running this method, I need to send the data using Fiddler, right? So I can test this in Fiddler. So let me run the service for now. And this is insert per, URI template is insert per, so I need to use that one for getting to that method. Okay, my service is running now. So I want to go to the Fiddler. So I want to test the insert person, right? So I'm using that URI over there, and so the content type is application/JSON. So it is that just you are saying that the request body is sending the data in the form of JSON object. That's all about that. Okay, and it is expecting, the insert person is expecting a person object, so I have to send a person object in the form of JSON object. So if you go and see in the person, so here if in the for a person you are having three properties: ID, name, and address. So you have to send this, I mean, you have to, these are like the keys. I mean, from the you have to send the data in the JSON using this value, this ID, name, and address as the keys, and you can assign the values to them as your requirement. So let me send the data. So this ID must match this ID, and the name must match this name, and the address must match this address. Okay, so let me do that. So for now I want to insert a new element, new person with ID 1009, and the name equal to Sam, the address USA. Okay, so let me insert it. Okay, let me execute. So before that I want to have a breakpoint at insert person. So okay, so I'm at the Fiddler, the type method is post, so it's post only. So I'm sending this in the this is a JSON object. So if you see, it is matching with my, so ID is matching with this ID, name is matching with this name, address is matching with this address. So everything is perfect. So let me execute and check it whether it's working or not. So if you see, I got the breakpoint was hit, and if you see the person object at this method, so I got the expected values. I got the values that I sent from the Fiddler. So everything is good. Let me check it whether it is getting inserted to my database or not. So if you see in the Fiddler, I got a successful message, which I mean 200 is a successful status code. So I got a successful message. So let me check in the database. So I got a new row added with ID 1009, Sam, and USA. So it's working. The insert person is also working fine. And now let me do it for the update person also. So if you see, I'm done with the three methods for making them as restful. So I also want to make the same thing for update person. So I'm using web invoke again. So I want to use post method again. So if you see, the only difference between post and get is that if you use a post method, then you need to send, if you want to, if this service is accepting, if the service is expecting any data, then you have to send in the form of, in the request body only. If you use the get method, then you can send the data from the client to the service in the URL. You can pass the values in the URL. If it is get method, you can pass the values in the request body. If it is post method, it is like that. Okay, the only difference is that. And the update, so request format must be in the JSON, so I'm keeping the property and the URI template. Update for, okay, so I'm done with this. So let me check whether it's working or not. Let me run this. This is my URL template, right? So let me go to the Fiddler and check whether it's working or not. So make sure you have to run your service before testing it through the Fiddler. Okay, make sure to run your service before testing. So if you see, this is update person. So for now I want to edit this this, like the first row, like where the ID is 1005. I want to edit this, I mean this address to India. Okay, so for making that possible, what I can do is I just want to send, I mean it is accepting in the form of JSON, right? So I have to send in the form of JSON. So if you see, the ID is 1005, so I need to pass that ID, and I'll let the name be as Ajay only. I'm keeping Ajay R. I want to change this to Ajay R. I want to change the country to India. So execute. I forgot to keep the breakpoint actually. But let's check. I got a successful status code. Let's check in the database whether it was updated or not. So if you see, it was updated clearly. So that's all about this. I mean, so if you see, I just added a web invoke attribute additional, and I just added another endpoint REST for making a service for the RESTful, for making the service as a RESTful service. Okay, that's it. And for testing this, you can use Fiddler. As for sending the data in the request body, you need to use the Fiddler, which is not possible by the browser. Or else if it is get method, then you can use the browser, where you can send the data from the values. So this is all about the RESTful service, how you can make a SOAP based service to a RESTful service. And also if you see, at present my service is actually both. I mean it is a kind of SOAP based and also a REST based service. So that's all about this REST based service. It may be a bit confusing, but if you do some research if you do some additional research, it will be very easy for you. Okay, and thanks a lot my friends, for watching my video. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. And also in the next video, I'm planning to show you how you can consume this RESTful service in the client side by using jQuery Ajax control. I mean, by how you can consume it directly in the client side, directly in HTML page, by just using jQuery and Ajax control. So it is very easy. In the next video, I'm planning to explain about that. So for now, this is about RESTful service. Thank you, and thanks a lot for watching my video. And okay, if you like my video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.